Hello, algebra class. Today we're going to do a quick little lesson, 8.7, and we are going to factor out special products. Now, we talked a long time ago about that there's these certain ones that kind of cancel out, and you can look at them and try to figure out what you're finding. And that's what we have today. So we've got a couple that are difference of squares. What that means is you end up seeing this a squared minus b squared. And so that's what you see when you have your paper in front of you. But what I'm going to show you, so this is what you actually see, but what I'm going to show you is how to write it out so that you can FOIL it, you can factor it. So we're going backwards. And so we're going to start with x squared minus 16. So what that really means is x squared minus 4 squared. Because we know that 16 is a perfect square. Some of you still don't know those. You need to have those memorized for sure. Okay, so if I have x squared and 4 squared, I just have to do a difference of squares, which means I'm going to do x plus 4 and x minus 4. Again, order doesn't matter on those. You can go back and forth. Okay, so then when I get to 4x squared minus 49, I know I can't take anything out of both 4 and 49, but they are both perfect squares. So 4, the perfect square of that is 2, and 49, the perfect square of that is 7. Okay, well, we also have the x squared in there. That means that I'm going to take that down to 4x plus 7 and 4x minus 7. Draw a line here so we just can divide those up real quick. And then next, I've got 9. Okay, so I've got 9x squared and y. So 9 is a perfect square, so that would be 3x squared. And then I've got x squared minus y. Well, again, we can divide that up into 3x plus y and 3x minus y. Okay, well, that's a different line. That's fun. Okay, so now this one, neither of these are perfect squares. 2 is not a perfect square and 50 is not a perfect square. Neither of those are going to work out perfectly. So what I can do is I can say, well, is there anything else I can do? And you guys will all tell me, well, yeah, you can factor out the 2. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And when I do that, I do have a perfect square of 25. Notice that the 2 is out front now. So I'm just looking at what's in my parentheses. X is squared is a perfect square, and so is the negative 25. And so I am able to leave my 2 out front, and I'm able to move it down to x plus 5 and x minus 5. Okay, so now I'm going to move on to perfect square trinomials. So this is when I have 3 terms. Again, what you are seeing is this here, ax squared plus 2ab plus b squared, okay? And then what we're going to break it down to is the exact same thing written twice. So if I factor out 36, what you guys are used to doing is factoring out, so you have n minus 6 and n minus 6, okay? Well, since it's the exact same thing, we can just write it twice, and once you have it written twice, it's just n minus 6 squared, which makes sense because it's the same thing written 2 different times. Okay, so same thing on number 6. We have to look, remember, you're just looking at the first and the last, and then if those are both perfect squares, that's when we can work with this, because 12 is not a perfect square. Okay, so if I look at the first and last and I want to factor it out, I know that I can factor that out into 3x squared minus 2. So since it's positive, and that means they're both the same, I can actually factor those out. Okay, now I can, if I need to work backwards, I can FOIL that backwards and FOIL everything out. Okay, the last part, number 7, not any perfect squares. So we need to start with what we do know. We know we can take out a 3. So if I do take out a 3, I now have y squared minus 12y. So I took out a negative 3 because remember that first number can't be negative, so I went ahead and took that out of there so we didn't have to worry about it. And then plus 36. Okay, so now when I look at that, that 36 is a perfect square, and so is my y squared. Again, I don't really have to worry about that number in the middle. I just have to make sure it works. Okay, well, I could say 6 and 6. Since they're both minus 6, it's the exact same thing in the middle, I can break it down even farther to say negative 3 times y minus 6 quantity squared. Now notice that this is really important that you do put it squared twice. If you do this level up here, it's not wrong. You are correct. There's just a simpler way to write it. Oh, and we didn't do this one. This one should be 3x minus 2, and that whole quantity then should be squared. Okay, so that would be the final answer for this guy over here too. We will discuss this a little more in class. You do have a test coming up over all of this information, and so that's going to be the hard part, is kind of putting it all together and making sure that it's all there for you. Have a great day.